a little bit about this this hazardous condition, the stink house on 85th Street, and want to thank both the offices of Eric Ulrich and Mike Miller for their work on this. This is something I know was not easy to resolve. We also were in touch with the mayor's office, and everyone pulled together on this, and and got this done. For those who don't know, this house on 85th Street, the sewage was spilling out. You had urine and feces coming from the house. Turned out it wasn't even a busted pipe; it was just a blocked pipe. How about that? This caused much distress. I mean, this is right next to St. Luke's. This is right next to a nursery school, for crying out loud. And these kids had to, for a large period of time now, had to walk in the street. You can't. What are you gonna have? Little 5-year-olds, stepping through that muck. So. It was finally there was some workmen there with a dumpster. They filled up a dumpster. They got the water stopped running. Now the sidewalk is finally dry after all this time. It's about time. But we can't just leave it at that. We need to really stay on top of this and continue to press for some answers. There's some questions that we really need to have answered. First of all, why did it take over 2 months, to get action on this? This is something that really should have been taken care of right away. The minute you hear the words feces and urine on sidewalk, that's it, right there, boom, top of the line. You know what I mean? Cut right to the front. Some residents, I'm reading from Alicia, some residents noticed that action only seemed to come after the story hit the papers. Why did it take such measures to get this resolved? And is that in fact the case? You talk to some residents, you talk to the people at St. Luke's, they'll tell you they were complaining about this for, a few months before we even came to this. This was going on even longer. So, the question is, it did seem that it went on for quite a while, and then all of a sudden it hits the Chronicle, it hits the Daily News, and it gets resolved. Do we always have to go that route to get things done? Why was a 311 complaint closed with the reason being that no repairs were needed? That's a good question. The DEP closed a 311 complaint and said they were there, they did an inspection, and no repairs were needed. For crying out loud, there was a 35-foot long chunk of frozen caca. How could they miss that? Who's inspecting this? Inspector Clouseau? How could they close that and say it doesn't need to be fixed? Who made that determination? Is there some sort of follow-up on their end? If someone goes and says that, don't you want to go back to that person who closed that 311, who inspected it, and ask them how did they make that determination? Show them the picture. Show them the picture of that big frozen, duty, and say, how did you miss this? And then get their eyes checked. And really the question is, was this determination made without even visiting the property? Did this 311 complaint come across this person's desk, and did they just close it out without ever visiting the property? Why was this never escalated to the level of being a health hazard? There is a nursery school right next door. Why was that never escalated to a health hazard? Did the Department of Health ever decide to escalate that to a health hazard? There was feces and urine on the street right next to a nursery school. Why was the sidewalk never closed? Why was that not a hazmat situation? Now, we put in a 311 complaint, WRBA, and there was no status available. When we went and looked it up online, it said no status available, you got to call in. When we called in It took 15 minutes to get an answer from an operator, and she had to go to a supervisor to find out what happened to that 311 complaint. Why did it take that long? Why does 311, and as it turned out, the reason it took so long was because it was a duplicate, because there was one out there already. There was a complaint for that location. So they just said, we can't find, yours. Why does 311 not have a better way to handle duplicate complaints? Surely they must get many duplicate complaints. Why don't they have a better way of handling it? Yours should be closed, and it should give you the open one, the master 311. Or they should all stay open. I say they should have a better way of handling this. Does 311 ever perform an audit on closed requests? Do they ever review their processes to see how well they were handled? Is there any quality control at all? Do they ever go back to the people who filed the original 311 complaints and say, were you satisfied with our service? Is there any auditing at all of their processes? Because if so, we'd like to request a complete and thorough review of this incident. And if not, we'd like to know why 311 and the city does not audit their own requests, why there is no quality control. We're hearing from local residents that there's still old scraps of toilet paper on 85th Street on the sidewalk. So now, are we to just hope that this storm here, this snow, took care of it? Are we to hope that the people shoveled it up and then eventually this toilet paper will dissolve? I mean, there was feces and urine on the sidewalk for all those months. It was cleaned up. Again, is it not a health hazard? Was anything ever done to this? Is this location considered safe? What kind of hazard was it? What kind of danger were the local residents in of getting sick? Were they ever in any kind of danger at all? Were the children at that school in ever any kind of danger? And finally, what can we do as a city to ensure that this doesn't happen again? How can New York City improve their procedures? We all know there's going to be backed up pipes again. We all know things like this are going to happen. But how can the city handle this better? And I think only by asking these questions and getting answers will we ensure that procedures are improved. And that's what we all want. We all want things to be better. And this is a simple thing. We're not asking for a big deal here. We're just asking that when something like this happens, that it's handled a bit more efficiently than it was. And I think no matter what, I think the residents of Woodhaven, we deserve better than this.